Okay, this is at THS Mr. Jones. Thank you for coming back. This is chapter 0.4, and we are going to talk about factoring. First, what is factoring? Well, factoring is undoing the distributive property. Okay, so in 0.3, we were working on multiplying polynomials using the distributive property. But in chapter 0.4, we are actually doing the inverse, or the inverse of that using factoring. Okay, so steps or things to go through when factoring. Okay, so step one is you're going to look for your greatest common factor, or your GCF. This is a must. You have to look for it every single time. If you don't, you're just going to make the problem much harder. Okay, step two, you're going to look for special cases. We went over those in 0.3. I'll talk about them again briefly so that you can see those. Step three will be use the A equals 1 method. Okay. 4 is use rainbow. Okay, we're just kind of going through. You're going to look for this. If not, you're going to look for this. If not, you're going to keep working down. Use rainbow method. And step 5 is grouping. Okay. This method here, we will really want to pay attention on how that method will work. Okay. So looking for greatest common factor, again, that is some number or some letter that all of your terms share. Okay, for A equals 1 method. I forgot my special cases. Okay, let's first go to special cases. Okay, that goes back to 0.3. So we factored out a greatest common factor if we had one. We have the difference of squares. Okay, so if I have two squared numbers and the difference, then it's going to be A plus B, A minus B. Perfect squares I'm not going to worry about. We'll deal with those with A equals 1 and rainbow method. But we have the sum and difference of cubes. And how those factor out. So this is A plus B, this is A minus B, A squared plus AB plus B squared. Sorry, this is a minus. And then this one is A squared plus AB plus B squared. I got those backwards. Okay, so these are you may want to have these written down somewhere to quick reference. You will want to know these for factoring. It's not like 0.3 where we don't necessarily have to know how to go from this to this. Okay, we got to know the setup of how going from here to here. Okay, so now let's go back to my trinomial when A equals 0. Now, trinomials are in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. And I'm talking about this term right here. So if your leading coefficient is a 1, this is what we're going to do when we factor. Okay, so for example, we may have something that looks like this: x squared plus 6x plus 9. Okay, I want to go over what I like to call the sign chart. So this is your first sign, this is your second sign, and this is your factors. Okay, so this is your first sign, this is your second sign, and these will be your factors will look like such. Okay, and this is how I want you to go through factoring when a is 0. So we're going to look at this and we say what factors of 9 will add, we read the signs backwards, so what factors of 9 will add to give you 6? And in that case, it's 3 and 3. Your x's will always be here since there's no number there. It doesn't matter, so it's x to x. So what factors of 9 add to 6? That's 3 and 3. And then you're going to say your signs are the same and they're both positive. Okay, and then those are your factors. So for my sign chart here, I can have a plus, plus, I can have a plus, minus, I can have a minus, plus, and then minus, minus. So this will help us figure out what signs go in our factors. Okay, so this means that they're the same and they're both positive. This means they're the same and they're both subtraction. This will tell you they're different and the bigger number has a positive. So that'll be plus big minus small. And this will be different and the bigger one has a minus. Minus big plus small. Okay. This is super important to know right here. Okay. So when A is 1, you're going to read factors of this number that add or subtract to this number. So maybe I'll put that in writing here. So factors of last number that add or subtract to middle number. Okay, depending on what the sign is, will depend on whether it adds or subtract to that number. Okay, we'll get some more practice with those down the road. So then we have when A does not equal 1. This we will use the rainbow method. Okay. Again, you're still going to look for greatest common factor and get rid of that. You're still going to look down your special cases to see if you have any of those, and then you're going to look to this if you need to. So this is when your leading coefficient is not a 1. And these will start off pretty easy. Most teachers will tell you to do a guess and check method. I hate that. Everything in math, nothing in math is guess and check. Okay, we've got a method to do everything. Okay, so no greatest common factor. We still will be using this sign chart here. Okay, so I noticed that in the end my signs are going to be different, and the bigger number will be positive. So step 1, we will multiply first and last number. Okay, so we're going to take 5 times 2. Don't worry about signs. Okay, signs will come in the end. So we multiply first and last number, and we get 10. You will then, so we get 10 over here. I'm gonna do it as we go through, and then you're going to factor that number. So you need factors of the first number that add or subtract to middle. Okay, so I need factors of 10, so it's 10, 1, 2, 5, and I need factors of 10 that subtract to 9. So that's 10 and 1. Okay, step 3, we will factor first and last numbers. So in this case, they're prime numbers, so it doesn't really matter. 4, you will group factors. Okay, so I need a 10 and a 1. Okay, so that means I got to take this 1 times this 1 and this 5 times this 2. So that's my grouping. Okay, so I will put it in parentheses. Since a 5 will be right factors / signs. Okay, so the x went with this 5 and 1. So we'll say 5x and 1x. We said we took the 1 times the 1. So I took this 1, and I never multiplied these two in numbers in parentheses. So that means this 1 has to go over here. We'll take the 5 times the 2, so that goes over there. Now we had a negative plus. So negative plus right here tells us it's going to be plus big minus small. Well, 10 was my big number. So that's going to be plus the 2, which came from the 10, and minus the 1, which came from the 1. Okay. Now, this is a really long process. Okay. It's confusing because most of you have never done it before. Get the steps wrote down, and we will do a lot of problems with this as we go through. Okay. I just wanted to show you one basic problem. Okay. Grouping. Grouping is rather easy. You're just going to match up and factor out using greatest common factor. So let's look at one real quick. So you've gone through all other trials of factoring, and then you come down to this one. Actually, I don't want that one. Bad example. So you've looked through all of these trials, and you can't do any of those. So now we've got grouping. You also notice that you have 4 terms. That's also a key on that you are going to group. Okay, so we're going to look at our first 2 and our last 2 terms, and we are going to pull out the greatest common factor. Now, it is not always the first and the last 2. Okay, sometimes we mix them up, and you are going to have to reorganize them, but we'll get there. Okay, so greatest common factor in these is x squared. So you get x plus 1. Now you're trying, out of these 2, you're trying to get x plus 1. In order to do that, you got to factor out a minus 3. You get x plus 1. Now these 2 terms, you're going to factor out again your greatest common factor. Your greatest common factor is x plus 1. You will be left with x squared minus 3. Okay, and we're factoring. So that is grouping. Okay, that is the first part of 0.4. Here are your questions. So what is factoring? What is step 1 in factoring? Rewrite the factor sign table and describe to me the rainbow method. Okay, when do I use it? How do I use it? All that kind of stuff. Okay. Step 1 in factoring, that's again what you look for first. Here are your suggested problems, with 97 being a challenge problem for you. I do probably suggest that you do more than just these minimums. There's a lot of factoring that we will be doing in this course. Okay. For those of you that are going to be in class, this is your stopping point. This is actually just Mr. Jones signing off. If you are not going to be in class, please continue to watch here as I'm going to do some examples. Thanks for watching. Okay, for those still with you, we're going to go through some examples here fairly quick of factoring. So the first thing we talked about was factoring out the greatest common factor. Okay, so if I look here at this problem, I'm trying to see what goes into both of these equally. Okay, and we will say 6 will go into 6 and it will go into 18, and x to the 4th will also going to both of those. So I factor that out, and I figure out what is left. Well, if I take 6x to the 5th divided by 6x to the 4th, I only have an x left, minus, if I take 18 divided by 6, that's 3, x to the 4th divided by x to the 4th is 1, and so we are finished. Okay, greatest common factor is super easy, easy to do. Okay, then we went to special cases. Okay, and these are sometimes hard to recognize. Okay, so the first one is difference of squares, and I gotta think, what's the square root of this and what's the square root of this? Okay, or can I write these numbers as something squared? So this one is already x squared. This one would be 3 squared. Okay, so then we're going to take these numbers down here, and we'll say x plus 3, x minus 3, and that's it. Okay, again, with this one, we will have 2x squared, because 2 squared is 4, x squared is x squared, minus 5 squared. And we're using the same pattern. Okay, so it'll be 2x plus 5, 2x minus 5. Okay, again, we wrote that down on the first part of the video, the formula. Okay, this one's a little bit tricky. So I have x squared minus 4 squared. So that is x squared plus 4, x squared minus 4. Now, if we look again, we can do this one also. Okay, 4 is 2 squared. So this one I can't do. I don't have a sum of squares. But this one will be x plus 2, x minus 2. Now that one is completely factored. Okay, we talked about some perfect squares, which I'm not worried about, but we will look at factoring when a is not, well, let's go to sum of cubes and difference of cubes. Okay. Now we had the formulas there, or the outline of how to do those, which is right here. Okay, so if I have a sum of cubes, which I do here, 27 is 3 to the 3rd. Okay, so then we're just going to plug it in to this. So a is x, b is 3. So you have x plus 3. So the sign is the same. And then you have a squared minus ab plus b squared, which is 9. Here we have this is 5 to the 3rd. Okay, so we will have x minus 5, x squared plus 5x plus 25. Okay, you can look here to see if we can factor again, but the odds are you're not going to be able to. Okay, factors of 9 that add to 3, there are none. Factors of 25 that add to 5, there are none. Okay, so those are some special cases. Let's look at a couple when a is 1. So we have x squared plus 6x plus 9. Okay, I did that one in the first video. Let's go x squared minus 10x plus 25. Okay, so I need to fact this again. We're using this sign. We will use this sign chart again. Okay, so I need factors of 25 that add to 10. There's 5 and 5. Your x's are there because you don't have a coefficient up front. Signs are the same, and they are both negative. And there you go. Now, since both of these factors are identical, we can write it as squared if we would like. If you don't, I'm not going to count you off if you don't do that. So x squared plus 10x plus 9. Okay, so here I need factors of 9 that add to 10. X's are fine, so that's 9 and 1. Signs are the same, and they are both positive. Whatever. One more. Okay, I need factors of 28 that subtract to 3. So factors of 28 that subtract to 3 are 7 and 4. Okay. Signs are different, and the bigger one is subtraction. So that's minus 7 plus 4. I encourage you to check your answer. So if you FOIL all this out, you should get back to this right here. Okay. Now we did the rainbow method, which was when A was not 1. For example, we have 2t squared plus t minus 3, and we have 15x squared minus x minus 6. Okay, so again, we look for greatest common factor. Neither one of them have it. Okay, we will take 2 times 3 and get 6. I need factors of 6 that subtract to 1. Well, that's 1, 6, 2, 3. So that's 2 and 3. Factor out these numbers. Now again, right now, these are easy problems. We don't have a lot of factors here to choose. Okay, but as we go on in college algebra, we will have a ton of factors to be picking through. Okay, so I have to use those two. But I need a 2 and a 3. So I'm going to take 2 times 1, 1 times 3. So that's 2t. And 1t. I took 2 times 1, and I took 1 times 3. Okay, using your sign chart here, I've got signs are different, and the bigger number is positive. That's this 3 right here is positive. So that's plus, minus. And there's your answer. Okay? Over here, we are going to take 15 times 6. Uh, 15 times 6 is 90. We're going to take, and we need factors of 90 that subtract to 1. Okay, so just start listing out factors of 9. We got 45 and 2. We got 90 and 1. We have 3 and 30. We have 9 and 10. Okay, right here. Okay, 10 minus 9 gave me the 1. Okay, we'll factor out the 15. So that's 1, 15, 3, 5. Factor out my 6, 1, 6, 2, 3. I'm trying to get a 9 and a 10. So which groups out of here will give me a 9 and a 10? Well, that's 3 times 3 and 5 times 2. So circle those groups. We'll come down here. I took the 5 times the 2 and the 3 times the 3. So I have 3x and 5x. I took 3 times the 3, so it comes way over here. And I took the 5 times the 2, so it comes way over here. Okay? So signs are different, and the bigger one is negative. So 10 over here has got to be negative. Well, did the 2 or the 5 go with the 10? That would have been the 2. So that's negative, and the 3 is positive. Okay. Now, I understand this is difficult. This is a long process. Okay. We will do a lot of these, but I also need you to be practicing these problems also on your own. You need to be working them out and asking me questions about it. Okay. All right, so let's try a grouping one real quick. Okay, so I've got 4 terms here, so we're going to take the first 2 and the last 2. We'll factor out the greatest common factor, which is x squared. We're left with x minus 1. I need x minus 1 here, so we'll factor out a positive 2. We get x minus 1. Then you're going to factor out your common factor there. So I'm going to factor out x minus 1, and I get x squared plus 2. Now, often you can factor this here again, but in this case we cannot. Okay. I think we'll stop there. Again, here are your there are your questions. Pause if you need to write them down. Here's your suggested problems. Be trying them out. Again, like you can try numbers around it. So if I give you 75, you could try 73 or 77. And if you got questions, ask me, but those answers are also in the back of the book. Thanks for watching. This is at THS Mr. Jones, signing off.